Introduction to the Ancient Wisdom series in 3 parts. Part 1, Journey into Consciousness. Part 2, 7 Pillars of Ancient Wisdom and the Human Spiritual Kingdom. This is what you are watching now. Part 3, Personality Integration and Introduction to Meditation. This information is presented with the hope of inspiring those who are ready to explore what their real purpose of life is and how to live a more fulfilling, happier existence. These videos are for those eager and ready to enter or have entered the path of self-enforced evolution. They are designed to help you to understand your divine nature and your role in this great scheme of life. This knowledge is essential for most of us to prepare for and take our meditation efforts towards a meaningful goal, that of soul contact and beyond. However rudimentary I try to make this introduction, at times it is technical, and your understanding will be proportional to your previous studies of the subject. Are you ready to enter upon this journey? Much of this information came about by focusing on one word or one concept at a time, by comparing the digitized classics written by H.P. Blavatsky, C.W. Leadbeater, Annie Besant, Alice Bailey, Lucille Cedar-Krantz, and my teacher Douglas M. Baker, and many more. Then I tried to come up with the best way to reconciliate this information and present it here. I apologize to those teachers if I erred in any way. Further, it is my sincere hope to inspire somebody to present this information in a more professional fashion. The 7 Pillars of the Ancient Wisdom and an Introduction to the Human Spiritual Kingdom.
The human family stands today upon the threshold of a new experience, that of soul consciousness. Every man, woman, and child incarnate upon the planet is being brought closer to this happening by the force of evolution itself. Just as man is differentiated from the animal in that he is a self-conscious human being, so shall he make yet another advance in awareness to become a soul-conscious son of God. No longer must he walk in the shadow of spiritual ignorance, for the light of his soul is moving upon his horizon.
I discovered the secret of the sea in meditation upon the dewdrop.
In this second part, you will really see how interconnected we are. In the first video, I spoke about the 3 parts of this introductory series. There's no need to go over them again. However, I must remind you that it is essential for understanding this second part that you have watched the first part I call Journey into Consciousness. And you might begin to believe that reality is stranger than the human mind can imagine.
This part is important for those of you who want to know the laws that govern not only your life, but also life on this planet, this solar system, and this universe. Is this somewhat technical? Some of it will appear to be, but all of it deals with the expression of the 3 principles or aspects of deity through you. You will be shown the forces of light and the forces of darkness and how they operate and intervene in your life. Do you really want to know? You are now standing in front of the door to deeper knowledge, and from here there is no way back. Remember the dictum given to us? A mind expanded can never return to its original size. Are you truly ready, like Alice in Wonderland, to find out how deep the rabbit hole really goes?
All right, now, if you're ready, I am. The agenda for this presentation is consisting of the 7 pillars of ancient wisdom, the human spiritual kingdom, the light lodge, the dark lodge, rules of engagement, and last but not least, protection.
The 7 basic concepts of the ancient wisdom. The study of these 7 basic postulates is essential to any meaningful study of the occult and your conscious spiritual unfoldment. The sequence of listing will aid understanding the next one. 1. Hylozoism, the proposition that all things, organic or inorganic, are filled with life from the tiniest atom to the greatest galaxy. 2. Each and all of these live within the body of a greater being. 3. Each is made in the image of God. For example, in the image of the one in whom it lives and moves and has its being. 4. There is a continuum which links all living things together, so that the smallest cell does not pulsate without its effects being felt in the furthest reaches of the solar system. 5. Our solar system has a spaternary nature. It is constructed out of energies which resonate to 7 qualities. 6. The solidity and tangibleness of the material world about us is an illusion. All is energy manifesting as fire and form. Energy and matter are interchangeable. 7. There is no death, only change of state. Birth and rebirth are endless until a certain state of consciousness is reached and karma is satisfied. Then reincarnation ceases.
Now I will explain the 7 basic concepts in greater detail. The first basic concept of the ancient wisdom. Hylozoism, the proposition that all things, organic or inorganic, are filled with life from the tiniest atom to the greatest galaxy. The Greek word hylozoism means matter and life. All matter and form are the expression of consciousness. As consciousness evolves, so does matter and form, and I explained that in detail in part 1 of this series. Today, the perceived border between living and non-living is bewildering scientists. Organic and inorganic chemistry faces the same conundrum with many viruses. An example would be the tobacco virus. In its dormant state, it has a crystalline structure. Given it the right environment, and it becomes a biological form. There are many other examples like this one. I propose all that evolves into a more complex form is alive. Since this occurs in the smallest part of an atom as well as within the greatest structure in the universe, all is alive. Why do I say this? An example would be on its involutionary path within a star, simple hydrogen is converted into more and more complex elements. Even our physicists have created new elements.
The second basic concept of the ancient wisdom. Each and all of these forms live within the body of a greater being. Whether it is the atom living within a molecule within a cell, or an organ within our body, the dependency of one upon the other is clear. As above, so below, holds true for us, the human race, the planet, or even a greater consciousness who expresses himself via our solar system. And even he is but the heart center within the great being we can only refer to as the one about whom naught may be said. All consciousness above that of human personality is fully aware of this concept, oneness, and hence is group conscious. Humanity forms the throat center of our planetary being, whereas he in turn forms the root, Kundalini, center within the solar logos. By eliminating separatism in our minds, we too can become conscious of that greater being of whom we are a part. All is one being, one consciousness.
And now let me explain group consciousness. All things live within the body of a greater being. Hence, they are eligible to share in its abilities and consciousness. Becoming aware of this allows us to fully benefit from this relationship. As above, so below. To understand the universe, study first the molecule and a body cell. All is trying to manifest the aspects of the Trinity. Here's an example. Our etheric body has 7 major force centers. So has our solar logos. These we refer to as the 7 sacred planets. You too are already part of the body and consciousness of a greater being. We are the ones who created this grand illusion of isolation. Only at the personality level are we cast out of the garden of oneness. Further, we are a group consciousness, not group conscious yet. All cells of our physical body cooperate with each other to maintain this fantastic complex structure. They are group conscious via instinct, guided by a deva and overshadowed by part of our consciousness.
At one-ment with individuality. A simple biological analogy may help to explain this better. There are tiny freshwater creatures called hydra, who are members of a group of animals which include jellyfish and corals. They grow up to 1 inch tall, are often attached to a stone, and with their tentacles catch water fleas like Daphnia. They have 2 layers of cells, and the space between them is filled with a jelly-like material. The outer layers of cells are specialized into stinging, sensing, and other cells, and the cells on the inner wall specialize in digestion, food storage cells, reproductive cells, etc. Normally, a cell on the inner wall is anchored there, but on occasions, it may leave the body wall of Hydra altogether and forage freely in the gut for food. It may then return to the gut wall and again share in the collective abilities of the whole organism. Now they have the ability to trap larger and more varied prey, be more protected, and move in its totality with the looping motion. This is what we do in principle when becoming in tune with the soul via meditation. We share the wisdom and power of that which we yoke to while still being an individual. This potential has no known limits.
Your journey is that of self-identification. As you expand your consciousness, you become more inclusive while identifying with an ever greater being. Now let us look at our planetary scheme. In the one we live until we move on.
There is a cosmic center governing all life within the manifested universe. The same laws rule the greatest galaxy and the smallest atom. Each planet, each solar system is but the outward expression of great lives. The sum total of life in and upon our planet constitutes a planetary being who, under the impulse of that cosmic center, directs life and affairs of this planet according to divine purpose. We call him the planetary Logos.
The kingdoms within our planetary scheme, surrounded by a ring-pass nut, or the sphere of his influence. There is the elemental and Deva kingdom. Christianity also calls the Deva kingdom the angelic kingdom. Then we have the mineral kingdom, the vegetable kingdom, also called the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, and finally the human kingdom. And from there we go into the human spiritual kingdom. These kingdoms make up and are part of the consciousness and outer forms of our planetary logos. The third basic concept of the ancient wisdom. Each is made in the image of God, i.e., in the image of the one in whom it lives and moves and has its being. Believing that man's form today is his final shape is the cause for the confusion and foolishness when trying to relate to or imaging greater beings than us. The environment and state of development determined our physical body's shape and organs of sensing. When we needed to get off the ground, we developed light bodies and strong arms to live in trees. When we needed to carry weapons and use tools, we were better off walking upright. When we enter the human spiritual kingdom as a fifth initiate, we no longer need a physical, astral, or mental body. We create one as required to function on the plane we need to interact on. There is one life, the same life that fills all things. Hence, all matter and forms must express that life in similar activities, only limited by its environment and state of evolution. This applies to the mineral kingdom, the vegetable kingdom, the animal kingdom, the human kingdom, the spiritual human kingdom, and beyond. Evolution applies to all. There is no limit to our growth. All life, to the best of its ability, attempts to manifest the divine trinity or attributes of will, wisdom, and intelligence. All life must live within the same divine laws.
Man stands as a sort of intermediary between the various kingdoms of life. Below him, and often within him or part of him, there are the mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms. There are also kingdoms of unseen hierarchies of life using this planet along with those visible to us, which will be described later. To these, man owes a responsibility, not only for their protection, but also for their evolution. The unfoldment of life in the lower kingdoms of the Earth scheme, for instance, necessitated the presence of human monads as a prerequisite. Man's responsibility is to channel higher forces directed through him from higher planes to the lower kingdoms of the Earth scheme. Life cannot evolve to any great measure without man being present in his mental, emotional, or etheric physical body. Man's monads provided the energies for invisible hierarchies like devas and elementals to build even less evolved forms. Even on the physical plane, it should be obvious that our domesticating of once wild beasts and the cultivating of plants is advancing the kingdoms below us. Some gardeners' so-called green thumb is easily explained because of the love and goodwill they imbue the plants with. Now, go forth and become a conscious channel for good.
And to summarize this, what the kingdoms above are to us, we are to the kingdoms below. Contemplate your responsibility.
As between the soul and the body there is a bond, so are the body and its environment linked together.
How are we expressing the attributes of Trinity? Many people call themselves spiritual, but almost everybody has their own interpretation. With this slide, I hope to shed some light on the subject. What is spirituality? The simple way to answer this is working out of soul qualities in the human consciousness and form. How are you manifesting right now the qualities of will, wisdom, and intelligence? Let us explore what most people do today and what each of us should be striving for. The left portion of the slide shows where we manifest these qualities in the mental body, in the emotional body, and in the physical body. The matrix itself, in white, I list what we are expressing will, wisdom, and intelligence today. Notice that will we express as choice, free will, in the mental body. In the emotional body, we express will as desire, whereas in the physical body, will is expressed in the motor functions. Today, wisdom we express as discrimination in the mental body, conditional love in the emotional body, and conditional love is, I love you as long as you love me, and if you stop loving me, I tear your heart out, that kind of love. And in the physical body, it is wisdom manifesting within the brain and cerebral hemisphere. Intelligence today In the mental body, we manifest it as concrete thought, logic. In the emotional body, as sensation. And in the physical body, as the five senses. Now let us explore how we should manifest soul qualities of will. In the mental body, it should be His will. Thy will be done. Not my little will, but thy will be done. In the emotional body, it should be reflected and felt as no attachments to physical things. Enjoy them, but do not get attached to them. In the physical body, will expressed properly will result in better health, and I will explain that a little later. When it comes to the soul quality of wisdom, I need to explain something. In most literature, you find this attribute called love wisdom. Here is why I refer to it as wisdom love. Based on personal experience, the first impression is that of unlimited knowledge and understanding of all human conditions. My mental body interprets this as pure reason, and with that comes compassion for all life. The emotional body expresses this as unselfish agape love. And again, physical health is improved. And how should we express the soul quality of intelligence? In the mental body, it should be via creativity and service to others. In the emotional body, it should manifest as bliss when aligned with the soul. And in the physical body, it would give you many more senses: clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, functioning on other planes, consciously, etc., etc. And now let me explain why better health of the physical body. Because alignment with the soul and clearing of your mental and astral bodies results in an ever-increasing flow of soul fire, vitality, and higher energies through the four centers of the physical etheric body. This in turn provides more energy and better health. Wisdom is love in action. The fourth basic concept of the ancient wisdom. There is a continuum which links all living things together, so that the smallest cell does not pulsate without its effect being felt in the furthest reaches of the solar system. Only on the physical plane of vibration exists the illusion of separation. On higher levels of vibrations or planes, we are truly floating within matter of each respective plane. On these planes, we talk about the etheric body of humanity, the astral body of humanity, within which our individual forms are focal points. Today's astronomy estimates that only about 5% of all matter in this universe is visible physical matter. Today they call the rest dark matter and dark energy. They mapped this matter via X-ray and found it to form a 3D matrix filling our universe. At intersecting filaments, they always find clusters of galaxies formed. Every galaxy floats within this matter, which the wisdom calls the continuum, or ether. It is this all-pervading continuum that makes energy and thought transference and much more possible. This is an image created by the Max Planck Institute of Germany, depicting the forming of today's galaxies, galactic clusters, and galactic strings from fairly evenly distributed gas-like visible matter. The image shows only a very small area of the known universe and its development over the last several billion years. Astronomers and physicists had a very big problem explaining this because the visible matter did not have enough mass and gravity to make the formation of galaxies possible. They finally realized that about 95% of matter is invisible to us, and via gravitational calculations and X-ray studies, they confirmed that everything floats in matter and energy they now call dark matter and dark energy. The wisdom told us for thousands of years that matter exists on every plane of the cosmos. My teacher, Dr. Douglas M. Baker, told the world for many years that dark matter is astral plane matter and dark energy is mental plane matter. I know that physics and astronomy, when finally detecting matter on these planes, will realize that most of the missing matter can still not be accounted for. Why? Because they still are not looking at matter of the planes above the mental plane, of this cosmic physical plane. Never mind those cosmic planes beyond that. Do you remember this image of all the cosmic planes from the first part of my presentation on consciousness? What I believe today is that astral matter helped pull matter together to form galaxies. As the universe becomes more and more self-conscious via life forms like us everywhere, mental matter's expanding space and forcing galaxies apart at an ever faster rate. Here is a small section of the universe depicting dark matter filaments, with the points in yellow being galaxies embedded within it. This is how scientists at the Max Planck Institute in Germany envision the distribution of dark matter. Know then, it is matter like this on every plane of vibration that connects each focal point within it and allows group consciousness within that one consciousness. It is refreshing for me to see that more and more scientists are beginning to investigate that which I have done or attempted to for over 50 years. Scientific America has a very good article that was written, I believe, in 2010, and I hope you can pause this and copy down on the bottom right the link to that article. Basically, what it amounts to is a large fraction of the overall activity, from 60 to 80% of all energy used by the brain, occurs in circuits unrelated to any external event. With a nod to our astronomer colleagues, our group came to call this intrinsic activity the brain's dark energy, a reference to the unseen energy that also represents the mass of most of the universe. You can also go to my website and download a couple of audio lectures by Douglas Baker on the same subject. The fifth basic concept of the ancient wisdom. Our solar system has a septenary nature. It is constructed out of energies which resonate to 7 qualities. I previously mentioned thought forms, attributes, qualities, consciousness, vitality, emanations, and outpourings. Well, basically all is energy vibrating at a certain frequency and souled and directed by spirit or will. For the last 100 years, we have known that the solidity of matter is an illusion. All is energy. Our solar logos receives these energies from a higher source and adapts them to create, maintain, and ultimately gather in or redeem his system. He receives these energies as the cosmic ray of love wisdom or wisdom love, and he in turn separates these into 7 energies like a prism splits white light into a band of colors. The qualities or aspects of the Trinity are divine will, wisdom, and intelligence. These 3 energies can only group themselves into 7 combinations of dominance. Notice that each ray is a blend of these 3 attributes or energies, but there's always 1 or 2 that are domineering and hence giving each ray a unique quality. Each of the human principles, also called germs of awareness, like the monad, soul, mental body, etc., is responding to 1 ray more than another. These 7 combinations of energies we call the 7 rays. In our solar system, the 2nd ray of wisdom love or love wisdom rules all others, since our solar logos is the heart chakra of an even greater being. These rays are of the following quality and color within this solar system. Ray 1, quality will and power. Ray 2, wisdom love. Ray 3, active intelligence. Ray 4, art and harmony through conflict. Ray 5, concrete knowledge and science. Ray 6, devotion and idealism. Ray 7, ceremonial order and ritual and magic. The colors, as you can see there, the first ray is scarlet white, 2nd one is indigo, 3rd is green, 4th is yellow, the 5th ray we perceive as orange, the 6th ray as blue rose, and the 7th ray as violet. These colors are as we perceive them here on our levels, on the lower levels. And by now you have noticed that everything resonates in 7 qualities. And this is the reason why throughout the solar system, the universe, we have 7 force centers, 7 planes, 7, 7, 7. Everything occurs in 7s. Now that you have been introduced to the rays, I need to explain how these manifest in our lives. The first 3 rays we refer to as primary rays, and rays 4 through 7 as rays of attribute. Let us explore how they affect life everywhere. Do you remember this chart from the journey into consciousness? The 3 outpourings? The first life wave established the 7 planes and matter on each of these was done via the 3rd ray of active intelligence. The second life wave established forms out of matter, and it was the 2nd ray of wisdom love. And the 3rd life wave established higher evolution on this planet via the descent of spirit, the 1st ray of will and power. These 3 are the primary rays. Now let us look briefly at the psychology of the 7 rays, the builders and maintainers of all there is in manifestation. Each principle of us responds predominantly to one of these ray energies. Hence, we talk about the ray of the monad, the soul, personality, mental, emotional, and physical bodies. Here is my ray makeup. Monads are on the first 3 rays. Only a very small percentage is found on the first ray, while the rest of the monads are evenly divided over ray 2 and 3. I believe my monad's ray is on the 2nd ray of love wisdom. The soul is on ray 2, my mental body is on the 5th ray of concrete knowledge and science, and the astral or emotional body is on the 2nd ray of love, wisdom, and my physical body now is on the 7th ray of ceremonial order, ritual, and magic. The combination of rays, the environment, genetics, and soul influence brought about a first-ray personality in me. The rays of our lower triads can be changed from reincarnation to reincarnation, but are harder to change by you during one lifetime. But it is possible. Unfortunately, today's psychology mostly considers only hereditary and environmental factors while disregarding the most important one, the state of the inner spiritual nature of a person. Knowing your race will assist you in every area of your life, in healing, type of food, your obstacles, your opportunities, even understanding of our and other nations. And most importantly, these are your tools for understanding yourself. An example of this is the soul ray of our country, the USA, is the 2nd ray of wisdom, love. Unfortunately, now it is hijacked by those who love power and money. The personality ray of the United States is the 6th ray of devotion and idealism, and in a young nation as this, it is expressed in the religious right and patriotism. The 6th basic concept of the ancient wisdom. The solidity and tangibleness of the material world about us is an illusion. All is energy manifesting as fire and form. Energy and matter are interchangeable. Einstein gave us E equal mc squared to prove that. Scientists today know that matter is energy and believe that it behaves sometimes like a particle, sometimes like a wave, a kind of blur. Teachers of the ancient wisdom always maintained that matter is only a temporary illusion. Form and matter exists only as long as ensouled by consciousness to fulfill a certain purpose. If consciousness is withdrawn, form and matter ceases. This applies to the ultimate atom, a thought form, and the universe alike. Our forms at physical, etheric, astral, and mental vibrations are kept in manifestation by the overshadowing spiritual soul.
Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one.
For nearly 100 years, we have known that the material world is an illusion. Everything that seems solid, a rock, a tree, a body, is actually 99.999% empty space. Energy and matter are interchangeable. Matter cannot be destroyed, only changed. All matter is energy. Albert Einstein gave us the formula E equals mc squared, showing us how much energy there is in a given amount of matter. Let us look at how our view of an atom has changed over time and how the ancient wisdom is telling us what actually occurs. There we see the sodium atom, Rutherford view, electrons floating around the nucleus in a very regulated formal orbit. Then the quantum model showed that the electron can be anywhere at any given time, and it's more like a cloud of electrons in possible certain locations. And here's a drawing of a chlorine atom given to us by Annie Besant and Charles Leadbeater when investigating via clairvoyant psychic abilities this particular structure. And notice that I'm showing the smallest part of that particular atom as the ultimate physical atom. And I will soon explain that in greater detail. Every atom is a complex, extremely fast vibrating and spinning energy structure. And here's the key: energy follows thought. This is why physicists studying quantum physics express concern that the observer changes the outcome of the experiment.
And here in greater detail is the smallest particle that Annie Besant, Charles Leadbeater, and Edwin Babbitt found and described. The structure consists of spirali, or walls of energy, they call the ultimate atom, or Anu, as the ancient wisdom calls it. You can read in the book Occult Chemistry by Besant and Leadbeater. The Anu is a sphere, slightly flattened, and there is a depression at the point where the force flows in, causing a heart-like form. Each is surrounded by a colorful blazing field. It is formed by the flow of the life force from the first outpouring. Force pours into the heart-shaped depression at the top of the Anu and issues from the lower point, and is changed in character by its passage. Further, force rushes through every spiral and every spirilla, and the changing shades of color that flash out from the rapidly revolving and vibrating Anu depend on the several activities of the spirals. Sometimes one, sometimes another is thrown into more energetic action, and with the change of activity from one spiral to another, the color changes. Each of the finer walls is formed of 7 yet finer ones, set successively at right angles to each other, each finer than its predecessor. These we call spirali.
On the right is a greatly magnified section of the spirali. Notice that the etheric energy is the grossest or lowest vibrational energy. There is no physical energy. An Anu on the astral plane would have the etheric strand missing, and on the mental plane, the Anu has no etheric and astral energy. These Anu come in 2 different versions, a left-hand and a right-hand version.
The 7th basic concept of the ancient wisdom. There is no death, only change of state. Birth and rebirth are endless until karma, on the 3 lower planes, is satisfied, and then human reincarnation ceases. Remember, one purpose of the monad, the Christ within us, is to become self-conscious on all levels of vibration below his plane. This is why he created the soul and imbued it with a portion of his consciousness. Our outer forms, in turn, are merely temporary focal points of the soul's consciousness to gain experience on lower levels. This he does until these forms are refined enough for this vast, overshadowing spiritual consciousness to descend into them. This can't be done in one short lifetime lasting only 50 to 80 years. Hence the soul again and again, 700 times plus, repeats the creation of his lower forms and imbues them with a portion of his consciousness. At the end of each cycle, the soul withdraws his consciousness and incorporates all good qualities gained. This is how we grow. This process we call reincarnation. While in incarnation and learning, the soul and his personality constantly perform actions causing reactions, cause and effect. The relationship between these two we call karma. In the human kingdom and above, consciousness in the universe is subject to this law.
This is a slide from my first presentation, Journey into Consciousness. I shall use it to demonstrate reincarnation. Please remember that the planes and all therein actually coexists in space and time. On the right we have the vibrational planes of our solar system. Each plane is divided again into 7 subplanes. The monad descends and builds his outposts of consciousness on the 3 planes below. This is the spiritual or upper triad. Your monad created your soul 18 million years ago, and now 700 plus lifetimes later, the life and consciousness stream we call Sutratma is well established. Now let us quickly review reincarnation. The soul establishes a mental unit on the lower mental plane, which will become the mental body. Now incarnation has begun. He repeats this on the astral and then on the physical planes, always starting with the permanent atoms brought over from his last incarnation. The soul finds the right time, environment, and genetic parents most suited to work out his design and karma for this incarnation. He overshadows and guides the growing bodies and personality as they form. Later he encourages maturity. We in turn as personality are building an ever stronger bridge of consciousness, also called the Antakarana or rainbow bridge between our mental body and the higher monastic permanent atom. When the physical body is cast off, discarnation ensues and the etheric body slowly begins to disintegrate. The wisdom encourages us to have the physical body cremated so that the etheric counterpart is also redeemed. This prevents these etheric shells to hover around for weeks and perhaps be possessed by less desirable entities. The personality and soul have moved on. The personality, when freed from the physical etheric body, will normally find itself fully self-conscious in the astral body. Remember, self-consciousness is always centered in the outermost body. There you will remain and function for weeks to many years. The duration depends on the state and quality of the emotional attributes built into the astral body during the physical life. I recommend the viewer to watch the movie What Dreams May Come, starring Robin Williams. This might give you an approximate idea about life in the astral plane. When finally the emotional content is lived out, the second death occurs and the personality becomes fully conscious in the lower mental plane. There the process is repeated until finally all that which remains is positive. Lower quality mental activities are lived out or shed first. When finally only the good qualities remain, the personality is united with the higher consciousness we call our soul. So, what happens to the personality at this point? In the process of shedding the mental body, Soul contact is made, and you are aware of the past and present, as well as your future. Depending on your evolutionary state, you are in a growing rapport with the soul, or work in your master's ashram, or you are via illumination rapidly integrated and absorbed by the soul. This cycle is repeated until the fifth initiation is reached. Even an arhat achieving the fourth initiation must return one more time. I left out many details about life on these planes, about its many life forms inhabiting the various subplanes and the laws governing all. This has to wait for a future presentation on life after physical death. The one fact I must repeat is that you here and now determines the quality and duration of life as personality in the astral and mental planes. Make this incarnation count.
A butterfly rested upon a flower. Gay was he and light as a flake, and there he met a caterpillar, sobbing as though his heart would break. It hurt the happy butterfly to see a caterpillar cry. Said he, "Whatever is the matter? And may I help in any way?" "I've lost my brother," wept the other. "He's been unwell for many a day. Now I discover, sad to tell, he's only a dead, an empty shell." "Unhappy grub, be done with weeping. Your sickly brother is not dead. His body's stronger and no longer crawls like a worm, but flies instead. He dances through the sunny hours and drinks sweet nectar from the flowers." "Away, away, deceitful villain! Go to the winds where you belong. I won't be grieving at your leaving, so take away your lying tongue. Am I a foolish slug or snail to swallow such a fairy tale?" "I'll prove my words, you unbeliever. Now listen well and look at me. I am none other than your brother, alive and well and fancy-free. Soon you'll be with me in the skies, among the flirting butterflies." "Ah," cried the mournful caterpillar, "'tis clear I must be seeing things. You're only a spectre sipping nectar, flicking your ornamental wings and talking nonsense by the yard. I will not hear another word." The butterfly gave up the struggle. "I have," he said, "no more to say." He spread his splendid wings and ascended into the air and flew away. And while he fluttered far and wide, the caterpillar sat and cried. In all men lurks the light, yet in how few has it blazed forth, as rightfully it ought, illuming from within our fleshly lamp, and kindling cosmic flame in nigh-brought souls. Splendor of God, how few, and ours the blame, for ever, crassly, by routine and wrath, we undiscerningly damp down and choke the spark of God that glints in every child. All children are, by nature, bits of God, and God, if they but had their freedom, would unfold himself in them, would burgeon forth, tinting and moulding, till, as perfect flowers, they bloomed, fulfilled of loveliness unveiled.
I died a mineral and became a plant. I died a plant and rose an animal. I died an animal and I was man. Why should I fear? When was I last by dying? Overcome glamour, eligible for first initiation. The very first step towards this initiation is to start the difficult work of overcoming glamour. This is by far the strongest human affliction. Substantial progress must have been made to integrate your personality and offer it to the soul. Do you have any skills and the will to listen to the soul and serve humanity? Are you willing and able to study the classics and begin to meditate? Then, and only then, can you start on the probationary path that eventually leads to the first initiation. Always remember, the goal is not initiation. It is the path that is the goal. Overcome illusion. Eligible for second initiation. Many years pass between the first and this initiation. You will need the aid of the soul to overcome illusion. Overcome Maya and the dweller. Eligible for third initiation. What you have to overcome is much more than the simplified headings above suggested. There are many tests along the path: loneliness, conflicts of self-identification, etc., etc. In the third presentation, I give you much useful information on how to overcome glamour, illusion, and Maya and integrate your personality. Hang in there, my fellow student. Become an Arhat, fourth initiation. Become a master, fifth initiation. At this time, there's no need to talk about the lofty fourth and fifth initiations, other than that the Master Jesus gained his fourth initiation on the cross. With each initiation comes increased awareness and sensitivity to experience and to life in all forms. The power and will to do for others what I have attempted to do for you, show you the way. The courage and the strength to know all, to realize all, and to love with patient wisdom and unchanging sincerity.
First, examine very carefully your motives. For what and why are you seeking? What will you do with this teaching once you have grasped it? Do you have the betterment of mankind in mind, or do you seek for self-glorification? Remember, the conscious soul is a part of the whole. His desire is the evolution of that life in which he lives, moves, and has his being. Any activity in which the spiritual soul is engaged is in service to his brothers. If there is anyone who seeks attainment for the glorification of the separated self, it would be better if he dropped out and waited until such time as his motives become rightly oriented. He will, as he learns through painful experiences, the emptiness of the illusion about him, the inevitability of change, the dissatisfaction when a long-sought goal is finally reached, the inability to find fulfillment. All of these painful experiences finally cause man to seek fulfillment in service. His motives become pure, and he is at last ready to begin his long climb up the mount of initiation.
I now like to introduce you to the human spiritual kingdom. Where do we go from here? Do you want to be adored, worshipped, and put on a pedestal when you master the human condition? Or are you ready to go forward without foolish devotion which the emotional aspirant offers to those brothers and sisters who have wrestled and fought their way into a greater measure of light? Are you ready to approach the soul and the spiritual guiding forces of humanity with humility, sincerity, and appreciation, then open your mind to those who stayed behind to aid and guide humanity on its evolutionary path. Hierarchy.
The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. That great group of liberated souls who, in utter self-abnegation, stand silently behind the world panorama. Through the power of their will, the strength of their meditations, the wisdom of their plans, and the scientific knowledge of energy which is theirs, they direct those force currents and control those form-building agencies which produce all that is seen and unseen, movable and immovable, in the sphere of creation within the three worlds. This, coupled to their vast experience, is what fits them to be the agents for the distribution of the energy of the planetary logos.
Here we have a presentation of the hierarchy structure as it was about 70 years ago. Within this circle is our planetary hierarchy, and above that the solar hierarchy. Here we have the average humanity, and here are those on the probationary path. From there are various grades of disciples and 4 grades of initiates. Then we come to the Lords of the Rays. Here the Master El Morya, first ray, the Master Kudhumi and Dwell Kul, second ray, the Venetian Master, third ray, the ray of attributes are managed by the Master Serapis, fourth ray, the Master Hilarion, fifth ray, the Master Jesus, sixth ray, the ray of devotion and idealism, and Master Rokotsky, also known in France as Saint Germain, rules the 7th ray of ceremonial order, ritual, and magic. I also like to point out that the office of the Christ, the world teacher, is held by the Lord Maitreya. He is the one who overshadowed the 3rd initiate, Jesus, 2000 years ago. And here Sanat Kumara, the Ancient of Days, the Silent Watcher, and he is the consciousness of the planetary logos.
But even this force has its opposition. Where there is light, there is also darkness. This planet is not yet sacred and must work out his ancient karma. Part of his consciousness, too, is imprisoned within matter and form. As we free our consciousness from matter and form, so do we free his. Remember, there is but one consciousness.
I have no desire to alarm you. However, I have no choice but to point out the negativity you might encounter as you begin to earnestly walk on the path of light and goodness. There are those on the planet whose goal it is to become and stay powerful within the physical, astral, and lower mental planes. Some of those even hide behind the term religion and unwittingly cooperate with the dark forces. We on the path of light transmute negativity into positivity by raising matter and consciousness towards spirit, thus interfering with their basis of power. Let us now explore the mode of operation and purpose of these two opposing forces. The Dark Lodge, also called Forces of Ignorance, Black Lodge, Brothers of the Shadow, the Left-Hand Path, Black Magicians. On the other hand, we have the White Lodge, the Great White Brotherhood, Sons of Light, the Right-Hand Path, White Magicians, Planetary Hierarchy. The Dark Lodge, what are they? They are planetary negative karma, those who follow the path of matter for selfish reasons to become more powerful within the planes of form, expanding intellect, intelligence, and separatism. On the other hand, the White Lodge are those who remain to implement and follow the divine plan of the planetary logos, expediting evolution while reducing human suffering and ignorance via expansion of consciousness, unity for all. Notice the difference especially in exclusivity on the dark side and unity and inclusivity on the light side. Forces used by the Dark Lodge, those of the planetary dweller, and dark forces created by humanity due to the lack of understanding, all negative thought form, thought energy, force, and substance. Whereas the White Lodge employs the forces of the Trinity of will, wisdom, intelligence via the seven rays, guiding all kingdoms while preserving our free will. Humanity's positive thought energy, force, and substance ever created for betterment are their tools. How does the dark force applies these forces? Via covert attacks, only limited by systemic law, preventing them to attack one of lesser degree on the right-hand path. They influence many unaware of it. No limit or moral code regarding pain and suffering inflicted. Whereas the White Lodge applies their strength via teaching the ancient wisdom, guided by strict laws and will of the Logos to implement his evolution. They will help and heal via lower disciples when asked, and depending on your mission to the plan. The Dark Lodge uses the most opportune time during the wane of the moon when victims are tired, drunk, or emotionally, mentally unbalanced. They are attacking during and via victims' greatest weakness. Sometimes even their strength is attacked. The White Lodge has been helping humanity for 24 hours, 7 days a week for about 21 million years. And 18 million years working with humanity as individualized beings. When I give my workshops, very few students find themselves being a target of negativity, perhaps only 1 out of 40. Those rare individuals are ready and willing to begin earnestly to tread the lighted path, and at the same time have the substantial potential to be a force for good. This, of course, can only be an introduction to this vast subject. I will go into it in more detail in my last and final part of this presentation. But here are the rules of engagement, that is, engaging the Dark Lodge. They use directly and or indirectly against you that which resonates to your physical, etheric, emotional, and mental energies, force, and substance. Like attracts like. Look at the average person's aura. and you will see how much negativity there is they can work with. Remember, what they are doing is activating your concretized negative thought forms or emotions, glamour or illusion, via an additional similar negative force. They use yours or others' weakness to corrupt judgment, instill confusion, discouragement, despair, anger, resentment, cause accidents and death. As your potential grows, so does their interest. This is the natural law of manifestation of pairs of opposites. Both the forces of light and darkness watch the planet. As your light intensifies, so does their interest. Recognize the signs and stay positive. There is a point of light 6 inches above your head. This is an outpost of the soul, not visible to the naked eye. We call it the soul star. Via your focus there and stating firmly the soul mantra, you draw his attention to you, its personality. However, a note of caution, do not misuse this tool. Then ask the soul and the masters for help to cleanse your environment and protect you. If you are in bed, turn on your side, cross arms and legs. Never, never sleep in the sun.
For men begin to pass their nature's bound, and find new hopes and cares which fast supplant their proper joys and griefs. They grow too great for narrow creeds of right and wrong, which fade before the unmeasured thirst for good, while peace rises within them more and more. Such men are even now upon the earth, serene amid the half-formed creatures round.